Welcome back in. It is time for Fire Field Vision, powered by NovaCare. The Chicago Fire, with their final regular season game of the season, they travel on down to Houston to take on the Dynamo. A 3 o'clock start, 2:30 pregame on NBC Sports Chicago. And Frank and Paul, the thing you want to do is you want it home. You're 12-2-3 at home. You go on the road. You want to wrap this thing up. Getting a win on the road in Houston would be huge going into this postseason.
100%. And I think we talk about momentum and playing well towards the end of the season. But now, look, if you have to play the playing game, I think it's important to have it at home. But there's still an opportunity maybe to get that second seed, depending on what happens in the other games. And now we know how huge that would be, to have maybe 2 weeks to prepare for that game, to get some of the guys like Schweinsteiger and Juninho a little bit more time to get healthy and have a little bit more time to prepare for your opponent that you're playing. That would be huge. So there's a lot to play for in this last match, Paul.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, the seeding is up for grabs. Your chance to host a playoff game is up for grabs. Even if you don't get the 2 seed, which gives you a bye, lets guys get healthy, ensures that you're playing in a semifinal that puts you just 2 good results away from the conference finals. If you lose, you open up the door that you're on the road in the first round of the playoffs. Yeah. So there is so much to play for going down to Houston, and Houston has a ton to play for. It has a chance to host a playoff game if it gets a good result. So it should be a very competitive game, and I think for the Fire players, you're right. I mean, momentum factors in. Nico's going to want to keep scoring. I think everyone's going to want to play well and keep things going, and all of that matters. But the thing about this league, and for everything that everyone wants to say about no promotion, relegation, and all that stuff, the playoffs do create things that you're playing for in the final game of the season. I mean, there are 3 teams fighting for 1 playoff spot in there. We'll get to all this later, but that's the thing I love. And so there's plenty for this Fire team to play for in Houston. If they lose a game, they're losing seeding. They're losing potentially a home playoff game. That's big.
Yeah.
The other thing you look at is when Michael DeLue going out, you had mentioned this when we had Nelson in, is trying to figure out exactly how they're going to play up top and what they're going to do with DeLue not there. Georgi Mihailovic has come in. He's played well. This is the first time he's gotten playing time at this kind of level, and now he's 2 games away from going into the postseason. Now with the guys coming back, you don't know if he'll play, but what he's been doing, I think you need everybody to pull together and get that chemistry going, and then adding a couple guys makes it even better.
And Frank, I mean, you can speak to this. You were a young player, turned pro at 16 years old.
No, he was a young player?
Yeah, once upon a time.
I still show Paul my pictures at home.
Okay.
And he goes, that was you?
But, it's different to play at home in your comfort zone, as a young player, and you go to the locker room that your parents are in the stands, you wake up and you eat breakfast in your own home, you sleep in your own bed. Going on the road where nothing is normal, nothing is comfortable, the other team often dictates the game, the weather may be different, whatever it is, it's different for young players on the road. For a player like Georgi, who is going to be asked to play a big role in the playoffs, being able to go to Houston and play an important role in that game, in a must-win game, this is where we talk about development. Yeah. You cannot get this from training. You cannot get this in little moments, 10 minutes at home here or there. This kid's going to have a chance to grow up as a player, and these moments in the season give it to him. So, yes, it's essential for Georgi to go to Houston, and if he starts or if he comes off the bench, to make an impact and to show, because when you get to the playoffs, it's not going to be easier. Whether it's a play-in game against Columbus at home or a road trip to NYCFC in the semifinals or whatever it is, this is where you begin to test yourself for these moments.
I agree with you. Nothing can help that maturity process and the experience in playing in difficult matches like this. It really means something. And the one thing with Georgi Mihailovic that I've seen, with young players, and you see how much the team respects him, because when he moves, they give him the ball. A lot of times if he loses 1 or 2 touches, if he loses 1 or 2 balls, the players, you're making a run and they're looking the other way. Then I said, okay, keep moving. We're not going to, but they have that respect and that belief that this kid can do something. He's got quality, and then he wants the ball. What I've seen in the last 2 games, he's matured a lot and he wants the ball in dangerous situations. And I think for me, the way I look how he's matured is that when I see players on his team, that they look for him because they want him to get the ball because they understand that he can make a difference.
And you want, what I like about this Houston game is it gives certain players difficult matchups that help prepare you for the postseason. So Brandon Vincent and Matt Polster are going to be playing against two talented wingers in Houston. Very important test for them to be able to have the balance of defending guys like Elise and Kyoto and still getting forward and playing that role. Georgie's going to get kicked by Alex. You know the guy. You brought him into the league. I love Georgie having to go up against a veteran like Alex, who's having a very good year. He's a smart player. His movement, his passing, it's going to challenge a kid like Georgie, matching up in midfield. That's a great learning experience before you go into the playoffs against, whether it's Will Trapp or whether it's against Felipe or whoever it may be in the playoffs. This is the way you learn. So some of these matchups in this game against Houston, I think, is a nice setup for the postseason.
No, and it's great for Georgie to get this experience. And for me, in an ideal situation, I mean, if, to have the ability with the Lou being out, to have now Schweinsteiger and the experience of Juninho and the three in the midfield, and if one of them doesn't, is not able to start, then maybe Georgie gets an opportunity, Mihalovic, to start. But can you imagine if you have, McCarty with Schweinsteiger and Juninho, the experience, especially in games like that, and because, when the team was playing at its best, those three guys really had a big input.
Well, it's amazing too, and you mentioned McCarty there. We talked when Dax wasn't playing, we talked about missing him. When he is playing, he solidifies everything. It's kind of like a warm pair of slippers. He's there. We don't worry about a lot of things. He's going to make good things happen. He's going to prevent some bad things from happening, and that's nice to have him back. The U.S. men's national team not going anywhere. One less thing to worry about, and now he can just concentrate on the postseason. The Chicago Fire wrap up the regular season this coming Sunday. You can catch the game with Dan Kelly and Frank Lopez on the call. 2:30 pregame, a 3 o'clock kick down in Houston. Watch it on NBC Sports Chicago. It's Decision Day 2017. All the games in the league starting at 3 o'clock.